Hello everyone, so I've seen a lot of YouTubers doing gaming challenges, and this was something I did before I made YouTube videos. So I came up with a challenge for what might be my favorite game of all time, Batman Arkham City. And to answer the question, can you beat Batman Arkham City without grappling? This means I'll have to move around the city as if I was an inmate in Arkham City. So before I begin, here's a quick rundown of the rule. Rule number 1. Grappling only counts if I physically press the grapple button. Rule number 2. I must get through the whole game without grappling for it to be counted as a challenge completed. And rule number 3. Lastly, if I fail any of these challenges, it will turn into a minimal run, meaning how little I can do. Not as sweet of a victory, but still a challenge nonetheless. So with that said, let the challenge begin. So to start off, get my first taste of that sweet Arkham City air and quickly climb Ace Chemicals to get into the Batsuit. Now, climbing Ace Chemicals taught me how a lot of my traversal around the city was going to be when I couldn't grapple. So the first part was to get to Catwoman and ask if I could borrow the whip, since that doesn't really count as grappling. So getting into the courthouse, I proceeded to beat up every single person in the room like in most real life court cases. Finding Catwoman, she then refused to give me her whip. So I was back to square one, and she almost got...
Her pretty little head out sooner or later. And when she does, blow it off.
But she kinda deserves it for not giving me the whip. Leaving the courthouse, it really sinked in how not being able to grappling would change how I played this entire game. I was basically an Arkham inmate. I had to find shelter, the streets were filled with the worst of the worst, I had to be clever and try to survive on the hellish ground level. Thankfully, Rocksteady actually designed the city to explain how the inmates got around, and just walking around the streets, I really appreciated and discovered new things about the game. Like, Two-Face's goons have these fortresses that block the roads. Now, they legit are the same quality as a kid making a den out of cushions, but you gotta appreciate the effort, but they also let me climb on them and escape from any inmates that I can't be bothered fighting. I also got into a lot more fights than I would normally, since the streets are just filled with bad guys. Getting to the church, I went all the way around, imagine having your gravesite being in Arkham City by the way, and beat up the goons at the door. Entering, I threw Harley into a wall and then faced the worst possible thing for the challenge. A grappling tutorial. A part of the game that would force me to use the grapple. No, I was playing this on the hardest difficulty and was not on New Game Plus. So my plan, instead of grappling up,
attacking armed thugs head on is suicide.
Faith in me honestly, was to run at them through the smoke and pray. Now, before I run into 4 heavily armed men, if you are enjoying the video, leave a like and comment below any challenges or games you want me to make challenges for. I'm always looking, and if you want to see more videos, subscribe to the channel. But with that said, we return to the shocking conclusion. So, I run into 4 armed men, hopes high, feeling like a champion, the smoke around them blocking their vision, and realize that you can't run when this is happening, and 2, there's a goddamn invisible wall. So, yeah, I proceeded to become a trypophobia's worst nightmare, and was riddled with bullet holes. So I learned...
attacking armed thugs head on is suicide.
And came up with another brilliant idea to hide behind a poster. Now, surprisingly, this actually worked for a bit. I guess the thug's mask stopped them seeing, or myself was just too good. Or it worked until it didn't for some reason. The thugs gained perception randomly, and found my hiding spot, and then proceeded to shoot me. Not quickly, however, slowly, so I would suffer, and also to know I can't actually do anything but walk until I've been damaged, since this is meant to be a cutscene where you grapple. So, after 10 more deaths, I have to grapple. Yeah, technically I failed the challenge already, and I know what you're thinking. Getting 2% into the game and having to grapple in a non-grapple run isn't good, considering the whole goal was to not grapple. So yes, it's technically a fail, but there just is no possible way to actually not grapple here. Editor's note, while editing this video, I actually got recommended someone else's how many times you not have to grapple, and they actually managed to get past this part without grappling using a speedrun trick I didn't know of. So yeah, ClownPuncher139 made a video that will show you how you actually get by this area. So yeah, everything I'm saying about not being able to do this is wrong, I just didn't know. But anyway, back to the video. So I have failed my first challenge video, but it does not end here, since it's now how little I can grapple. And trust me, there's very interesting ways I get around grappling. But unfortunately this time it is a fail, but next challenge video will be a win hopefully. But anyway, Next part is easy, sneak past them, take them all out silently. Then the big one, the church tower. How can I avoid grappling up this tower? So normally, you go into this area and grapple up in 10 seconds and then you forget about it forever. But I was determined, after using a grapple, I wanted to find a way to climb this tower without grappling. So, I noticed a strange hook that was floating and a piece of wood. This is very out of the ordinary because the hook wasn't actually attached to anything, and you'd never normally spend this long in this area to see this since you just grapple up. So I ran up to this wood and jumped to the hook and failed repeatedly for half an hour until I saw Batman grab the floating hook. And it was here that I realized that Batman, when running and then jumping off of something, will actually almost always try to climb up the object if you hit it right, on stuff that's not even meant to be climbable or out of reach. However, once on the hook, it would not let me climb up to the ledge from it, but it did teach me a mechanic that I could exploit later. I managed, after a legitimate hour of testing, to glitch through the floorboards and get to a new level by repeatedly crouching and walking into it. Looking up at all I had left, I thought, how crazy was this challenge? This area had now become like a puzzle game. Coincidentally, all pieces actually having a solution, as I'm about to tell you. So in this next floor to the tower, there were 2 platforms, which by using the run an object and pray tactic, it actually paid off, and I made it up to gain more height. Then walking along, I took a jump over and actually made it onto the ledge, but a column blocked me from being able to shimmy across it. I then got back on the platform and tried jumping to the other end. I made it, but it then threw me off when I tried to climb up it. Then as a last effort, I tried jumping to the furthest ledge that in no way should have been able to work, as it was way too far for Batman. But ladies and gentlemen, it did work. Once I jumped over this seemingly impossible jump, it pulled me up and I was blocked by broken stairs. But again, out of all odds, Batman stretched his arms and climbed up. There was actually no climb prompt or anything. Batman just climbed up when I pressed that button a couple times. I then made it to the ladders and to the top of the tower without grappling. Looking back at the long climb from what was a 20-second section normally, a 1 hour and a half puzzle climb. I knew that this challenge was going to be crazy, and the luck that this random section somehow coincidentally had become a platforming level that felt like I was playing an old Tomb Raider game. I knew this challenge was going to be tough, but I also knew from now on that it was going to be really fun, and also very time consuming. Now I was free to go into the city again and make it towards the steel mill. Thankfully, after leaving the church, it started me high up, so I glided onto this road that was very long that I also couldn't remember when I played it. Thinking later, I now remember why I didn't remember this road. I approached the steel mill and I found a massive blockade, which I could grapple over, but again, I can't grapple, and I also couldn't climb it. So I went round the area trying to climb up and made it onto the rooftops, but then I saw my next problem, a massive body of water and some boats. I glided to the boats and tried climbing the metal structure, but fell into the water, which causes Batman to actually grapple, again I haven't pressed the grapple button, to the nearest land. I used this knowledge to glide over to the bridge, but made it just so Batman wouldn't fall completely into the water, which made the grapple animation play and Batman got up to the steel mill. Climbing the stairs and then getting onto the roof of the steel mill was easy. Getting to the area where Batman contacts Alfred was not easy. This area is one that is meant to be a grapple only, and unfortunately, no matter how much I tried, without the line launcher, it's just not possible. So I had to use another grapple, and then to make matters worse, there's a massive funnel tower that in no way, unless I had maybe the ice gadget and I could glitch over half the map by spamming that button to fly over, was I able to get here without a grapple. There was just absolutely no way. So again, I had to use another grapple, which felt really bad since I'd literally just used one. So now at 3 grapples and still near the start of the game, I was a little annoyed. In the steel mill, I beat up some thugs, then got to a section where it wanted me to grapple, or
Attacking armed thugs head on is suicide.
me having used 3 grapples at this point, I wasn't going to waste another here. So I threw the smoke and snuck by, and it actually let me take them out silently. After that was another stealth section, but I can't grapple away or to any gargoyles. I had zero problems, however, since there wasn't that many thugs and corner takedowns are very good. The last guy, however, had the doctor as a hostage. I let him speak for a bit and found out this guy has a really good Joker impression. So I was just gonna leave him, as I was very impressed with his Joker laugh. But then I noticed his tattoos were Harley Quinn, and I realized this was a Harley simp. So I did what should happen to every Harley simp in the world. Then I tried going back to where Joker's office was, and they had sealed the door shut. So using the electro gun, I went through another way and came up to a goddamn grapple bit. Already just getting into this place, I had used 2 grapples. And now I had to use another one for a part that Batman should easily be able to climb up. But unfortunately, again, I had to use another grapple. My 4th one. I get to the office area, where once more, to trigger the Mr. Hammer cutscene, I have to use another grapple. And then, after beating Mr. Hammer, I have to grapple again to get another cutscene. Okay, the steel mill just sucks. I'm sorry, it looks awesome, it's the Joker's place, but this area is in my opinion the weakest of them all. And for the challenge, it made me use 4 grapples in this area alone, compared to my 1 for a tutorial. Anyway, trigger the cutscene, Batman gets poisoned, and I glide around the steel mill so I can find an edge to climb over and leave this area. Unfortunately, later in the game I do have to come back here later, but for now I head to the old GCPD building. Once inside, armed thugs cover all doors and the game wants me to grapple. After the hellish steel mill, I will once again not take Batman's advice.
Attacking armed thugs head-on is suicide.
And somehow it actually worked. Now, it may have been some of the worst stealth you've ever seen ever, but it did work. Cleared out the room relatively quickly and then headed off to the museum. Now, when I got to the museum, I forgot about this one particular issue being the jammers. And the jammers are on the roof, and you have to grapple to the first jammer. I was determined, since at this point my brain remembered a building I could climb up to that the game so gracefully taught me in the tutorial. End up in the back alley of the Ace Chemical building, and I realized how great this tutorial actually was, so I climbed Ace Chemicals again, jumped over buildings and glided onto the rail tracks, ran along and made another leap of faith to the jammer. Making it, I managed to take out the first jammer. For the second jammer, I had to once again go back to Ace Chemicals and jump and glide onto the next jammer. For the final jammer, I then had to get into the sewers. I then had to use one of my grapples to get on the train. This felt really annoying since Batman for sure should have been able to climb it, but here again, the 5th grapple has been used. Beside the jammer, I committed the best stealth section of my life. Using bat claws, I managed to take them all out and got the last jammer. Next scene, I had to use another grapple just to be able to get back onto the train, meaning backtracking was going to be a real issue here. The museum was honestly going fine until the shark bit, since each platform could only be accessed with a grapple and there were 3 rooms I had to go into. So first room, used 1 grapple. Saved Mr. Freeze, did another stealth section using the amazing bat claws. Got Mr. Freeze's suit gadget, and fought Penguin using another grapple to get into the room. Now, I Kratos executed Grundy, beat Penguin, and then a ninja woman escaped. Thankfully, the League of Assassins Guard never actually went anywhere high enough for me to grapple, which was done of them since I couldn't be able to follow them if they'd grappled, but once I caught them, they fled and I got the greatest power-up in my opinion in any video game. That would save me so many times from having to use the grapple and was just relatively fun to use. The Line Launcher, a technological masterpiece, and with this I could fly through the city. An Ace Chemicals building was no longer needed. The feeling when I didn't have to parkour, but instead could use the Line Launcher was indescribable, and so much quicker. Getting through Gotham Underground without grappling was very easy with the new Line Launcher, and I came to a stealth section involving Nurse Fiona Wilson, who I later learned was the greatest hider in Arkham. Saving her, I made it into the actual Wonder City, which felt like another playground where you shouldn't be able to use the grapple hook, and it was honestly like it was made for the line launcher. Meeting Talia, I entered Heaven, same thing, and I had to do the Demon Trials to become the leader of the League of Assassins, which honestly sounded like a great deal, since, let's be honest, Batman hasn't exactly been helping Gotham since half the city has now become a prison. Imagine half of New York gets walled off with it becoming a prison with no rules. So yeah, becoming the leader and ruling all the ninjas just sounds like a good deal. But anyway, first thing I had to do was the Demon Trials, which honestly sounded a lot worse than they look. However, the game wanted me again to use my grapple. But with clever gliding, I made it through most of them. A lot of deaths, mind you, but the second last one, it would not let me on with just normal gliding the way it wanted me to go. There just wasn't enough space to be able to glide onto the platform, or dive bomb to get any momentum. So as I was about to give up, I tried something completely different that I thought had no chance of working. I glided from the left. Now, normally I thought an invisible wall was for sure gonna block me, but for some reason there was no invisible wall, and after a few more tries, I actually managed to get onto the platform without grappling. Beating Ra's al Ghul and then escaping Wonder City, I went to the GCPD, fought Mr. Freeze, and Harley took the cure. I now had to head back to the Steel Mill, the place I used the most grapples so far, out of all places in the game, and the game wants you to go back there. No other place you have to go back to really except for there. Great. However, a new issue I had was the armed henchmen and snipers at very hard to reach areas. Now for this stealth section, I had to once again use bat claws, while also avoiding snipers, which was very much easier said than done. So I had a pattern. Freeze the snipers, jump down, bat claw off the railing, repeat this until they're all done. Except for one more sniper. Which this was harder than I thought, but thankfully I did manage it, but it was such a precise angle on the line launcher. I finally got it, beat that sniper, and entered the steel mill. Now this time I had to ride the ice and backclaw around the boiling water, jumping other platforms. I got to another part of the game where it looked like the only way was to grapple, but experimenting for a bit with the line launcher, I once again managed to get up, avoiding another grapple. While walking, I was attacked by probably the worst hider in Arkham City, the other doctor, who I had saved previously, who then said she would go hide, but unlike Master Hider Fiona Wilson, this doctor definitely didn't have the greatest hiding spot, and proceeded to stand in the middle of the room in open view. So entering my next stealth section, there was a lot of armed men, and I had a new stealth tactic. I found a grate, hid inside of it, and proceeded to use the remote control Batarang till every inmate was knocked over the edge. Since there was actually no possible ways for the thugs to get you, it was completely safe. However, the next part was once again Joker's office, requiring me to use another grapple. That one area is literally impossible to get to without grappling, and trust me, I tried a lot. However, compared to my first time in the steel mill, only having to use this grapple was a massive improvement. After beating Joker, left the steel mill after Catwoman saves me again. Her whole sections don't actually have a grapple, and I don't count the bad ending as a win for this challenge since it's technically not the end of the game. So I finally headed to my most feared place for the challenge, Wonder Tower. But before that, I had to complete probably the hardest section, Protocol 10 helicopters. Normally, this was easy. Grab into a helicopter, scan until you find the right one. Problem is, I can't grapple. And I had to use the line launcher to traverse the whole city in an attempt to get to the helicopter. And it took me so long, but I finally found the right helicopter, then procedurally got shot by thousands of bullets and died. And they do not keep the same helicopter. I know there is a certain number which will always be, but I couldn't remember and I couldn't be bothered checking. So again, rinse and repeat did that, and then I tried, and I really tried to get onto the helicopter without grappling, but I don't think there was any other way. So again, I had to use another grapple. Got to Gotham Underground once again, bump into Fiona Wilson, who did such a good job at hiding that even Batman complimented her, and Batman never does that.
You seem to be good at hiding, Doctor.
Unfortunately, another Predator section, but this time, I once again had an immune spot, so I set up camp, gave some Batarangs to Fiona Wilson, and we used remote control Batarangs to all the Tiger Guards. Getting into the elevator, this part was another section where the game wants you to grapple to avoid being shot. But I think if you use the smoke screen, all bullets miss, or I just got really lucky, but I ran into them, beat up all the thugs, and then started to climb up the tower. Unfortunately, I had to use Grapples since there was no way. I even tried using the freezing glitch, but that didn't work since there wasn't a billboard. So I had to use 1, 2, 3, 4 just to get up to the Strange. The stealth section here was not hard at all, even with Strange telling everyone where I was. But I got in, blew up the tower, met Joker, beat Clayface, and finished Arkham City. So, to answer the question, can you beat Arkham City without grappling? Well, no. No, you can't. Which, honestly, is pretty impressive considering how long the game is, and it's a personal win for me since so many areas became their own puzzle games, how to not grapple, and I found a way to make my favourite game feel fresh again. If it was New Game Plus, the amount of grapples could definitely be lowered, since having the line launcher at the start would help tremendously. But walking around on the ground level, I found so many details that I would have missed gliding and grappling. Like when Penguin blows up the bridge, there's actually corpses in the water, and all the details in the city, especially the steel mill area, with the funfair attractions and vans. It was so much fun to do, and I can't wait to try more challenges in other games. I never expected to find so many ways to avoid grappling, but I just loved it. So for the next challenge, let's hope I'm successful, but this time it was a fail to not grapple once, but it's not about the ending, it's about the journey along the way.
Attacking armed thugs head-on is suicide.
Screw that! Do that!
He's dead.
Hello everyone, Cyberlock here. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and click one of the links below if you want to watch more of my videos, and make sure to hit that bell icon to stay fully updated. I also have a new Discord and a Patreon. But until next time, you've been watching Cyberlock Entertainment.